Welcome back to the channel today, guys, for another great episode of Bleach. But I gotta be honest, I could see this episode being kind of confusing for people because this episode went by so quick. We got so much information so fast and all at once that I can see people not really understanding everything that happened. This episode really felt like they're like, all right, we gotta speed this up. We gotta go at a breakneck pace to get to where we want in our episode count. And it really felt like it. I was watching this like, damn, we finished like the Kenpachi and Unohana fight, for instance. Like, I didn't think it'd be over in half an episode, you know? They went through it extremely quickly. Along with the Oetsu stuff too, which is actually really important. And it felt like they just were done like that. So let's just get into it and talk about Bleach, 1,000 Year Blood War, episode, 10 today? Because it was a good episode, but very rushed feeling. Now our episode begins right into it, immediately with Kenpachi and Unohana continuing their fight, with Kenpachi realizing that he's been blacking out during this battle the entire time. As he says, I black out amid battle again and again, only to find myself back where I left off. As he says, I've always enjoyed my battles, but not to the point where I'd lose myself or have blackouts in the middle of them. That happened only once, the day I fought you, Unohana. And it's here we transition several hundred years into the past as you see Unohana standing in the rain as one of her lieutenants runs up and says, it's just not possible. No matter how much we search the Rukon district, I doubt we'll find anyone strong enough to satisfy you. As he says, cutting down gangs from the Rukon district won't make much difference in preserving the peace of the Serite. As he says, the size of this pile of bodies is the size of your dissatisfaction, and it's a huge pile. But it's here that Unohana realizes it is like, wait a minute, how long has this pile been here? I didn't make it. Which is a little weird that there's a giant pile of bodies right off to the side and they didn't notice it till now. That seems a little strange, but alright. But as she looks upon it, she sees a young Kenpachi, Zaraki, sitting on top of it. We realize that he's the one that made the pile. And it's here we see he lunges at Unohana as she explains to us that I was bored with the sword, with fighting. And so I wandered around in search of a foe who could please my sword. That's probably why our swords drew us two weary souls together. As we see Kenpachi stabs her in the chest, leaving that scar as she says, I never would have expected that I could experience such unparalleled joy by crossing blades with a child. And I never thought that that child would place shackles on himself because of our battle. And it's here we transition back to the present as we see their battle unfolding as Kenpachi finally lands a hit on her and says, before I could only react, but now I can counter her. It's almost as if each time I black out, I wake up feeling reborn. And as we transition back to Unohana, she says, Kenpachi Zaraki, you probably have not realized this, that you are unconsciously restraining your powers while in battle. And it's here she starts explaining why. Like, do you know why you narrowly lost your battle with Ichigo Kurosaki? Do you know why you narrowly won your battle against Niitora Gilgi? Was it because they were strong? I'm sure that's how it seemed to the others. But I knew that wasn't the case. In each instance, you suppressed your powers to the limit. As we transition back to the past, as she says, during that battle, we both experienced unparalleled joy. Our difference was you learned the joy of fighting on the edge. And that is my sin. As she continues and says, you must have been ecstatic. Everyone around you was weak. You had no enemies you could test your sword against. I was the first foe you encountered who could rival your power. However, I was weaker than you. You believed that if you lost me, you would never experience the joy of battle ever again. You wanted to bring yourself down to my level, so little by little, you unconsciously began to suppress your power into a deep, dark place. I was devastated. My weakness drove you to suppress your power. But one day I noticed something. Each time you flirt with death against a powerful foe, you start to break your shackles. As she says that is why I will kill you, even if it takes 100 or 1,000 tries. That is why I will heal you again and again until you return to what you really are. And it's here we see as the fight's going on, Kenpachi's getting faster and stronger and more intense as he lands a clean slash on Unohana. But it doesn't work, as she says, you of all people should know the reason I mastered Kaido. As she says something that I've wanted to see for so long. Bankai. Minazuki. As we just see blood start raining down. Now, Unohana's Bankai is actually extremely interesting because the blood that comes out everywhere is presumed to be the blood of every single person that she's killed. And it really is interesting because her Shikai is like the epitome of healing. It heals everyone around her without folly, without anything at all. It will heal them no matter what. But the Bankai is completely the opposite. It reopens wounds that you've been like on your body or even mentally. It's like the epitome of anguish and agony. It's honestly kind of really cool, and it looks awesome in the anime. And it's here Unohana tells Kenpachi, playtime is over. And it's here our fight kicks it up to 11 as it gets the most intense it's ever been. And Kenpachi's getting pushed back right now. As Kenpachi thinks to himself, I'm melting away. As we see, he's getting stronger and faster still. And he says, this is fun. As he says, everything feels different. And it's here he finally realizes what's been going on as he says, I've been asleep this whole time. I've been playing out our exchange in my dreams. All this time, I thought there wasn't a word for this exchange. But thanks to you, I finally learned what it's called. This is battle. And as they continue fighting, they get to a point where they don't even need to exchange words verbally. They can communicate with each other just off of their movements and their sword clashes alone. As Unohana says, say, Kenpachi Zaraki, you learn the ability to suppress yourself so you could enjoy the battle for eternity. I learned the ability to heal myself so I could enjoy the battle for eternity. But now I'm certain that this power I obtained was for this single battle. And it's here she explains the reason why they have to kill each other, saying, in any era, there can only be one Kenpachi. That is the rule, as well as an inevitable fate. Because when the strong find the next strongest, they can no longer swing their sword for their own sake. The tip of their sword will always be pointed either towards killing the next strongest or towards nurturing them. And as we transition back to the past, Unohana realizes that he's the one. This child is the one to be worthy of the name Kenpachi. As she says farewell to the one man in this world who brought me joy, as Kenpachi stabs her through the chest. As Kenpachi says, wait, are you going to die? No, don't die. I still haven't had enough. Please don't die. As he actually starts screaming and crying. As Unohana says, he's like a child. What's there to cry about? Sure, now that you've regained your strength and defeated me, you might find yourself returning to the days when you find many of your battles to be boring. But now you have foes you can fight to your heart's content, and comrades you can cross swords with on equal terms. Most of all, you have a partner who has awakened alongside you. As Unohana says, rejoice for me, Kenpachi Zaraki. Rejoice for me as I pass away. What sheer bliss to die from accomplishing one's purpose. As Unohana takes her last breath and dies. But it's here all of a sudden, in the darkness, in the silence, we just hear Kenpachi of Zaraki. It seems my voice has finally reached you. The voice of the one who has been watching you longer and closer than anyone. as we see that it's his sword calling him, and he's finally able to talk to his Zanpakuto. So shit's gonna get crazy soon. Whew, that was an intense little segment. But it's here! We transition to an equally as important segment, as we see Ichigo and Renji arrive at the next palace to meet Oetsu, and he is something. Just imagine Killer Bee from Naruto just turned up even more. That's Oetsu, baby! As we see Ichigo, Renji, and even Kon surrounded by all these beautiful women as they walk in. Ichigo's just like, don't be fooled, Renji. It's gotta be an illusion. It's gotta be. And as they meet Oetsu, he says, yo, did you guys enjoy my welcoming show? Once again, I am Oetsu Nimiya, the master of the Hoden. As we see Blade God, Oetsu Miyamaya. As we see that Ichigo and Renji can't handle this type of energy. But it's here as he gets kicked across the room by his assistant Mira, who is fed up with his antics. And the Soul Society is filled with men that are just flamboyant and ridiculous, and all these women that gotta rein them into gears. You see it literally everywhere here. And it's here she brings them all to this rinky-dink old shack and says, this is the real Hoden. And as Ichigo and Renji enter, they find themselves falling into a dark pit inside of this room. And as Oetsu tells them that, Ichigo, Renji, have you noticed? You two haven't met a single Soul Reaper besides me since coming here. All the women you saw earlier were Zanpakuto. As he says, you guys are Soul Reapers, yet you can't tell the difference between Soul Reapers and Zanpakuto? Is it because you're both the sort of unloving souls who would allow this to happen to your Zanpakuto? As he holds up both of their broken blades and shatters them. As he says, a Zanpakuto that doesn't receive love is so easily broken. You two are completely surrounded by the anger of Zanpakuto. If you can make it out of there alive, I'll consider fixing your Zanpakuto. I don't make swords for losers. As he tells them, there's nothing to be afraid of. They're the ultimate Zanpakuto that can become anything. They're Asashi. And it's here that Oetsu starts dropping some, really important lore to the Soul Society as a whole, as he says, it's the nameless Zanpakuto. Temporarily issued to over 6,000 members of the 13 Court Guard Squads during their time in the Academy. Every Soul Reaper eats and sleeps with their Asashi. Through continuous training, they imprint the essence of their soul upon their Asashi to create their personalized Zanpakuto. And the one who creates those Asashis by himself is me. As he tells Ichigo and Renji that the most important thing right now is to know that they're angry with you for the way you use your Zanpakuto. As he says, this is how they think of you. We're fundamentally different. As he says, let's start by discussing whether Zanpakuto or Soul Reapers are superior. He's basically saying that they're angry with them because they place themselves above the Zanpakuto, above the Asashi. They think we're fundamentally different from each other. We're not the same being. When in actuality, that's completely twisted up. And it's here we do a little bit of a time skip. 71 hours and 48 minutes to be exact. As he says, you lasted for 3 days. You pass, Renji. And you fail, Ichigo. And as Ichigo begs him, hey, I can keep going. Don't stop this. He says, nope, no waiting. You're done. You fail. The end. As Ichigo begs, telling him, there's no time limit, is there? As Oetsu tells him, there isn't a time limit, but rather an emotional limit. I'm not talking about whether you can keep going or not. You just weren't chosen by an Asashi. As he tells him, what's become perfectly clear in these last 3 days is that Renji's a Soul Reaper, while you, Ichigo, are not. As he actually goes and has Mira drag Ichigo out of the pit. And as he comes out, he tells him, oh, one more thing. Don't ever enter the Soul Society ever again. The Soul Society is the land of Soul Reapers. An ordinary human without a Zanpakuto has no right to enter it. As Ichigo says, if I leave now, what'll happen to Zangetsu? As Oetsu tells him that Zangetsu can't be fixed anymore. Or rather, I won't fix him. As he says, I don't make swords for a fake Soul Reaper. And as Ichigo charges at him, he actually restrains him and sends him away. But as he leaves, he says, you're no good as you are now, Ichigo. The fact that Inasashi didn't choose you, or the fact that you fought this long without Inasashi, you just don't understand the significance of this. You need to go back to your roots, and you must learn what your roots are. And as we transition back to Ichigo, we see that he was brought back in front of Kurosaki Clinic, and our episode ends. And what he means by the fact that Ichigo hasn't had an Inasashi this whole time, I can't tell you guys just yet. I can't tell you. You guys are getting mad, but I can't. I can't. We'll find that out eventually. Especially if you watch the next episode preview, you know, we'll get some insight a little bit into what's going on soon, and it's going to be really good. But this episode, man, like I said, it felt rushed. It felt like they rushed through this episode to really just get to, I guess, so they could get to more important things later on. And I don't know if that was the right call, personally. Like, I don't know. This episode really felt rushed, especially the Kenpachi and Unohana stuff. Like, I know it wasn't that long in the manga, but it felt even quicker in the anime. And I don't know. I think Unohana's Bankai looked freaking amazing. I think they killed it, though. I will say that. And what do you guys think about learning about Zanpakuto a little bit more? Did you know that they're all these beings called Asashis that get imprinted with their owner's spirits, basically, to become the personalized Zanpakuto? I bet some of you didn't. So let me know in the comments what you thought of this episode, because it was pretty good. A lot of world building for the series, honestly. But until next time, guys, I hope you have a great day, week, month, and year. And deuces, have a blessed day, and just be safe out there, you know? I'll see you guys next time.